give it up for week 5. Yeah! Halfway there! I love the enthusiasm in the front here. All right, so to kick us off on this midway point, I thought we could talk about someone that we know that is definitely a party starter, and that is a YouTuber named Mr. Beast. Okay, raise your hand if you know who Mr. Beast is. I heard some mixed reviews on Mr. Beast. Make some noise if you like Mr. Beast. You like his chocolates? Make some noise if you're indifferent of Mr. Beast. Like you just couldn't care less. Okay, make some noise if you don't like Mr. Beast. Oh, we got some people that really don't like Mr. Beast here. Well, if you've ever watched his videos or if you know who Mr. Beast is, he got really, really famous and well known for his giveaways. So for example, he at one point has bought out an entire dealership, a car dealership, and then he literally gave away all of the cars for free. So he bought an entire used car lot and then was like, okay, free cars for everybody. He has walked around giving $20,000 out to every person that didn't have a home that he met. So people that were on the streets and they didn't have a permanent living space. He at one point went to a restaurant, ordered water, and then tipped the waitress $30,000. Like that is the extreme amount of like things that Mr. Beast goes to. And I guess the list could go on for days because he has hundreds of videos, right? And this dude has over 157 million subscribers on YouTube, which is insane that there's that many people that watch Mr. Beast. And he's growing every single day. And I think it's because we really love watching videos or seeing people win unexpectedly, right? And we love this idea of generosity. And so when most of us hear this word generous, this is what we think about, right? At one point, Mr. Beast literally gave an entire private island to, I think it's like 100,000 follower or subscriber, which is insane. Like he actually did that. He had a private island and he just gave it away to somebody. Now, the truth is, most of us don't have the resources to demonstrate that type of generosity, right? None of us own a private island. At least I know that I don't own a private island. Do any of you own private islands? Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna go to your guys' private islands later then.
Private island in my head, Megan.
In your head. Okay. Private island in the head. Interesting. All right, but even if all of us don't have a bunch of extra money, especially the amount of extra money laying around for him, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about like an extra $10 even to be able to give away and help others. You know what we do have is we do have things like time, encouragement, kind words, and even talents that we could share freely with other people, right? And if you're anything like me, though, it's easy to let your thoughts on generosity be just that, right? Just thoughts. So what we feel inspired in a moment, guys, make sure that we're being quiet down there. Thank you. We might feel inspired in a moment to do something generous for someone else, right? Like helping your mom with the dishes, or maybe at one point letting your sibling play the same game that you're playing, or actually engaging in something that they're doing. But then we just don't. It just never goes anywhere other than having that thought in our heads. And so I think sometimes what keeps us from really being generosity a lot of times is fear, right? We're afraid that if we give to someone else that there won't be enough left for us. Or maybe we're afraid that if we use our resources, our skills to help somebody succeed, there won't be enough room for us to succeed as well. Or we're afraid that using what we have to help somebody in life means help somebody else win means that we're going to lose. And so if we help someone else have a successful time in something, whether that is on your soccer team, like you're helping them be successful by learning how to do a drill, or you're teaching them how to do a part, that they're just going to become more successful than you, and so you're going to lose and they're going to win. And so we hold back on our generosity. We don't always use what we have and give it to others. We don't always make an effort to really help other people win. And now when I say win, I'm not meaning like winning a trophy or things like that. I'm just meaning being successful or doing something good or helping somebody else be happy. And so can I just challenge us with this question? What if we're missing it? What if we're thinking about this whole winning thing wrong? What if by choosing not to be generous with what we have, we're not actually winning when we hold ourselves back from being generous? What if there's a better way to start the party for everyone, including ourselves? And so that's what I really want to talk about tonight. And so during his time on earth, Jesus spent a lot of time helping people learn about what it meant to really be a party starter. And so let's remember that in this series, when we're talking about parties, we're talking about any effort to celebrate, love, bring joy or success to other people around us and a better way of life. And being a party starter, that means that we're doing everything in our power to do that for other people, okay? So I'm almost 1,000% positive that Jesus didn't talk about party starters and use those exact words, but I think he kind of had this idea, right? Jesus' teachings were really about what it means to live this kind of full, amazing life that he promised us. And that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about starting the party. And so to help us understand what he was teaching, Jesus oftentimes taught in parables or stories. And tonight we're going to look at one of those parables to help us understand what it really means to help other people win. And so first, I think we should really set the scene of the parable that we're going to get into here. Excuse me. So a guy comes up to Jesus. So Jesus was teaching a whole bunch of people, and a guy comes up to Jesus with a complaint against his brother. So this guy, their father had just died, and his brother had inherited all of their money, and he wanted to split the wealth that they had just inherited. But his other brother wanted to keep it all. And so this guy comes up to, who is looking to receive this portion of money that he thought that he deserved, is asking Jesus to get the other involved and get the other brother to share his wealth, right? And so that's where we're starting. And so he comes up, he asks Jesus to help him with this, to help make sure his brother's being generous with his wealth that he has. And then Jesus says this first piece of scripture that we have here. He said, so this is Jesus. So then Jesus said, "Beware, guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own." So life is not measured by how much you own. So right away, guys, Jesus is saying this. He's saying, hey, be careful in thinking that life is only about what you have or what you can get, right? In other words, he's saying be careful about getting caught up in thinking that life is only about us. And I think oftentimes we can really get caught up in that. Well, we don't know for sure. I have to assume that this brother, after you heard that, was thinking, well, what about me? What about what's promised to me? What will be left for me after all of this happens? And I think I could also get that too, because I think oftentimes we ask that when we're in situations when we could help somebody else win. We're sitting there thinking, well, what about me? What am I going to get out of this? When I'm going and helping other people, what am I going to get out of this? And so then Jesus goes into a parable to expand on this answer that he had just given this guy. And so in the story, there is this really rich man who had a lot of money running a successful farm. So in this parable, Jesus was talking about how this very successful farmer had a lot of extra produce that he was farming. So he had a lot of extra stuff left over. So instead of doing something and being generous with what he had, he was like, I know what I'm going to do. I am going to build a bigger farm and a bigger barn to hold all of this stuff so that I will be fine for the rest of my life. So he ends up keeping all of it, and he does all of this work to build this huge, huge farm compared to what we have or what he had. And then he puts all of this extra stuff in there, right? And so he thought that he'd be satisfied with all of that. But what happens is that God has a different answer and a different idea of what this man should do. And so take a look at how this parable ends. So this is Jesus still talking, and it says, yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. So a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. And so friends, I think, like the rich man in this parable, what this is really saying is that we tend to think that this full, amazing life is found in having everything we want, or having everything that we think that we're going to need, of making sure that we have enough, that we're fine, that we're secure, that we have that big barn so that we're set for the rest of our lives. It's always going to be something more to satisfy us. If I only have more money, if I only have more this, if I only have more friends, if I only have better clothes, there's always going to be something to think that our bubble is going to be fine and we're going to be satisfied. But Jesus reminds us that there's so much more to that, right? A full life, a good life, a rich life. Guys, it's not found in what we have. It's not found in what we own. It's not found in what we can keep together in ourselves. So maybe it's not a physical thing, but our talents and our gifts. A great life is found when we follow the two greatest commandments. And friends, the two greatest commandments really come down to this. It's to love God with everything that we have and to love others like we love ourselves. And so to love our neighbors like we love ourselves. And so this means that this full, amazing life that Jesus has promised us is found when we're able to celebrate others, when we're able to give what we have to others. Rather than acting foolish by holding on to everything that we have out of fear of one day running out, guys, God wants us to be party starters who choose to give what we can so that other people can win. So in other words, this is the bottom line for tonight, guys. This is what I want us to remember. A party starter knows that part of winning is helping others win. And so if you're having a hard time understanding or maybe thinking of an example of this, let's go ahead and watch this video to see a little bit more of what this means.
You remember the last World Cup, right? Whether you loved it or you hated it, what you can't deny is that soccer or football is the most popular sport in the world. Every 4 years, teams representing countries all over the globe come together to compete for the World Cup. And this is a really big deal in a lot of different countries. So even though someone in Buenos Aires may never actually step foot in the stadium or make a single pass in the game, they're cheering as though a win for their team is a win for them personally. In fact, when it comes to soccer, sometimes it can even be hard to tell the difference between what a win means to the player versus what it means to the fans. Winning just means so much to everyone. Let me show you what I mean. I can almost guarantee that all of those people celebrating the win of their team felt like they won too. People get really hyped for soccer. But the point is that when someone else wins, we can see it as a win for everyone because we aren't competing against each other. We're on the same team.
So friends, here's the thing. We all have what it takes to be a party starter. And I think what's hard is oftentimes when we think about generosity, the first thing that comes to mind is like what Mr. Beast has, is money, right? And let's be honest, us as kids, when we're younger, we don't have a lot of money to be able to give away ourselves. The money that we have comes from our parents, and sometimes even our parents doesn't have a lot to be able to give away. But guys, we have our time. We have encouragement. We have talents and gifts and kind words that we could use. And so how can we begin to put generosity into practice this week? So here's a couple of things that we could do. So first, we need to start by paying attention. So look for ways that you can help someone else win. What do you guys personally have to give? Because everybody's going to have something different. Who around you could benefit from your generosity? What would it look like to change your perspective on what winning really means? And then secondly, do just one thing to help someone else win. Everything starts with just one simple step. So don't let your generosity just end with a thought and let it be there. Instead, put that thought into action by using what you have to help someone else win. And so here's a couple of things that we could start out with, and then in small groups, you guys can be able to expand upon this so much more. So one, You could spend time with maybe a sibling or a cousin, and I mean like real genuine time to where you are making sure that you are paying attention to them, you are taking interest in what they're taking interest in, you're listening, you're being kind, you're not being mean or condescending. 2, you could be generous with your compliments. So don't keep your kind words to yourself, either in person or even on social media. You never know what one simple compliment could do and make someone's day totally different. Like earlier tonight, I have a bad haircut, which is why I am wearing a headband, so like my bangs don't look great. And so I was feeling a little bit insecure. And earlier today, Miss Linda came up and she was like, Megan, your hair looks so great today. And it completely changed my entire day and how I was feeling about myself, because oftentimes our hair reflects a lot of who we are, right? And so it was so simple. Just a simple thing that she probably didn't even think anything of completely changed the way that I saw myself in that moment. And then 3, let someone else have the spotlight sometimes. I know a lot of people in this room that love the spotlight. You guys love being the center of attention. And so maybe for you, that simple answer or that simple step forward is to resist the urge to one-up somebody, or to be just as funny, or to make fun of that person to make other people look at you and think you are funny too. I think that's a really big thing that, especially in this youth group, that we can work on here. And guys, you could, like I said, you guys can brainstorm a lot more in your small groups. It doesn't have to just stop there. And then finally, guys, I want you to cheer for someone else. So be the biggest supporter that you possibly can to help them win in the ways that matter to them, not just you. That's one of the best ways that we could be a generous party starter in someone else's life, because you know that their win isn't your loss. Because remember, as a party starter, we know that part of winning is helping other people win, right? And one of those places that we could really start is our small groups. Because guys, your small groups is your team. You're there to support each other and be there for each other and cheer each other on and win together. So as a small group, start moving forward together in generosity and seeing how you can help each other win and not just yourselves. In fact, when you head to group, think about this question that might help you get into the mindset of this. So what is one thing you have to give to somebody else this week?